Prime Minister Modi is going to hold a bilateral meeting with US President Joe Biden. Sources say that Afghanistan and issues related to South Asia will be discussed during the meeting. This will be Prime Minister Modi's first in-person meeting with Biden after the US President took office in January. The two have interacted several times virtually and via phone, but this is their first face-to-face meeting since Biden won the presidential elections. Later on Friday, Prime Minister Modi will take part in the Quad's first in-person summit. The Quadrilateral Security Dialogue Partnership includes India, the United States, Australia and Japan. The leaders are set to review progress made since the first virtual summit held in March this year. Sources say that the Quad conversation will revolve around a number of issues of common interest. Discussions on China could be a priority, sources say. Earlier today, upon his arrival at the airport, he was received by US Department of State officials and India's ambassador to the United States. The Prime Minister stepped out of his motorcade to interact with the diaspora waiting at the airport. A crowd of ecstatic Indian Americans arrived at the Joint Base Andrews to welcome Prime Minister Modi. Despite heavy rains, they were seen chanting his name and waving the Indian flag.
I'm here to see my beloved Prime Minister, Mr. Modi. We are so excited. We don't mind staying in the rain. We are just excited to see him and welcome him. Modi ji. We love you, Modi ji.
I am so honored and proud to be here to welcome the Indian Prime Minister, Narendra Modi ji. Cannot wait for stronger ties between the United States and India on the whole.
I'm here to greet Mr. Modi ji, and this is my fourth time coming here and greeting him. But kind of overall, we are looking forward to his arrival and his speech at UN. We are looking at what he's going to talk about. And since he had become Prime Minister, India had progressed last, and Indo-American relationship had improved, and that's what we want to continue.
Let's go live now to WION's principal diplomatic correspondent, Siddhant Sabal, who is joining us from Washington, D.C. Any moment now, Prime Minister Modi will begin his meeting with American business representatives. What's on the agenda and what kind of an outcome do we expect from this meeting?
Well, yes, in about 15 to 20 minutes time, the Indian Prime Minister will be meeting the CEO, the top American CEOs. It includes 2 Indian American CEOs as well, and some mix of companies. We know the name like Qualcomm and Adobe, but largely when it comes to India-US relationship in terms of trade, economics, the focus is that there should be more engagement. We know that under Trump administration, both countries were working on a mini trade deal, but that of course could not happen. Now of course focus is that there can be more engagement. We know that when it comes to energy import, India has increased its energy import from United States. Also remember that both countries are working on the Indo-Pacific, the businesses in Indo-Pacific. The focus remains on making sure that when it comes to India's own domestic program, the Make in India project, there are more American companies present there. So essentially, the conversation will be about bringing more investment to India and manufacturing of more products, American products in India under the Make in India project.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Prime Minister Modi's bilaterals with Japanese Prime Minister Suga and Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison. These meetings come amid a row over the AUKUS Pact. What implications could the meetings have on the Indo-Pacific region?
Well, yes, the AUKUS Pact has had its shadow over many bilateral relationships. There were, in fact, worries over Quad as well. Something that has been dismissed by the Indian Foreign Secretary, saying that the Quad is a different grouping. It is a diplomatic initiative. AUKUS is is a security pact. But if you look at the bilaterals with the Australian side, both countries have been engaging. In fact, the Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison had spoken to the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi just hours before AUKUS was to be announced. That is essentially to keep the Indian side in loop. And of course, it's a major confidence measure as well, telling your partners that they are going to come up with this important pact. And there are, of course, no surprises for anyone. About Japan, as you asked, we know that the relationship has been working on infrastructure, connectivity. India's first bullet train is being built by the Japanese. The leadership from Japan wanted to come to India, but they are facing their own domestic difficulties. But if we can talk about the previous Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, we know that how both leaders have been meeting in Ahmedabad, in Varanasi. The visuals still being remembered. The visuals, of course, were very colorful visual, including a roadshow for the then Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe in Ahmedabad.
Well, thank you so much for joining us live from Washington. That was WION senior diplomatic correspondent reporting live on Prime Minister Modi's trip to Washington. Earlier today, Prime Minister Modi made his way to the historic hotel, the Willard, where he will be staying while he's in Washington, D.C. The Willard is a luxury hotel located on Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C. It's a 200-year-old hotel. Since 1853, every U.S. president has been to the hotel. The 16th president of the United States, Abraham Lincoln, stayed at the hotel before his inauguration. It's also the same hotel where Martin Luther King stayed before delivering his iconic speech, I Have a Dream.
Well, the Prime Minister will be staying at a place which is part and parcel of American history. This is the place where Prime Minister will be staying, and this has played a crucial role when it comes to the American history as well. If you can see a plaque, if my camera person can show you the plaque behind me, that plaque signifies the role it has played in the American Civil War. We also know that many presidents have used this hotel, including Lincoln.
The hotel has numerous luxurious guest rooms and several restaurants. WION's principal diplomatic correspondent, Siddhan Sibal, had a conversation with the management of the hotel. Do listen in.
Any one event which happened in this hotel, other than the linkages with the American Civil War, that changed the course of history, or something that was the big story of the day? Anything you can talk about?
Martin Luther King Jr. When he actually was about to give his speech, I Have a Dream speech that's so world-renowned. He was a guest in the hotel. He was in the lobby, and his speech writers suggested and recommended to him that he do not give that speech. No. Well, he went to the lobby right inside the hotel, and he went ahead and he did his finishing touches. 10 minutes before, he walked right on over to the Lincoln Memorial, where he gave that world-renowned, iconic speech of I Have a Dream speech. Okay. That's one that I can definitely mention for sure.
The United States has ruled out adding India or Japan to AUKUS, which is the new trilateral partnership between the US, the UK and Australia to meet the challenges in the Indo-Pacific region. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said that no one else would be involved in the security agreement in the Indo-Pacific region. With many world leaders currently in the US, including Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, speculation had been rising over whether countries like India and Japan, which have a vested interest in the Indo-Pacific region and are already part of the Quad, might also be included in the new security alliance. Before answering the question, Jen Psaki wondered what acronym the partnership would take if that happened. Take a look at that moment.
On Friday. So you'll have the Australians there, but then you'll also have India and Japan. Would you envision for them a similar kind of military role that you now define with the Australians?
AUKUS, what would it become? JAUKUS? JIAUKUS?
Awkward AUKUS? I don't know, something like that. Yeah.
Look, I think, David, that the announcement of AUKUS last week was not meant to be an indication, and I think this is a message the president also sent to to Macron, that there's no one else who will be involved in security in the Indo-Pacific. Of course, it's a topic of discussion, an important topic in conversations, with the French, with a range of countries who have a direct interest in the region.
According to a monthly Harvard Caps-Harris poll, former US President Donald Trump has a higher positivity rating among voters compared to Joe Biden, but at the same time, Trump is a higher negative than Biden. The poll results reflect dismay among American voters as the Biden administration wrangles several crises at home and abroad. The Harvard Caps-Harris survey seeks to reflect a nationally representative sample from the responses of over 2,000 registered voters. The findings show a turnaround in favorability ratings of the former and incumbent president. The results suggest a shift in voter sentiment, which is attributable to the renewed scrutiny of the Biden administration in recent months. 48% of respondents say they have a positive view of Trump, compared to 46% who say they have a favorable opinion of his successor. However, 49% of those surveyed say they have an unfavorable view of the current president, while slightly fewer, 47%, report an unfavorable opinion of Trump. The data represents a statistical tie, but Biden's favorability is seen as slightly trailing. Explaining the findings further, Mark Penn, a visiting lecturer at Harvard, says, and I quote, "The mounting issues on all fronts have led to the surprise conclusion that Trump is now seen as a good president, as good a president as Biden, suggesting the honeymoon is being replaced now with buyer's remorse," unquote. Biden's approval, his public approval, has indeed dipped since he took office, with rising coronavirus case numbers paired with a botched drawdown of US military and defense assets from Afghanistan. The handling of the recent Haitian migrant crisis and the ensuing deportations, not to mention the deadlock in Congress over his administration's plan to avoid a government shutdown at the end of the month. For more, let's go across live now to WION correspondent Susan Tehrani, who's joining us from New York. Susan, how much trouble do you think President Biden is in, judging by the latest polls?
Well, first of all, it's remarkable that these numbers are so close to former U.S. President Donald Trump, considering the fact that they were so far apart just a few months ago, notably during the campaign trail, where President Biden was so favorable, at least among independents and the Democrats. So that's one issue. But you know, it's understandable considering the fact that this president is really facing a number of crises. I mean, you have the economy, you have immigration, you have terrorism, and you also have crime in big cities. So these are issues that he's grappling with right now, and if he can't really hone in on these, then he is going to be in more trouble, because the American people, while they are really recovering from the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan and that really surprise and tragic attack on American Marines, the terrorist attack, and the fear that there might be another attack, and you know, their safety concerns for Afghanistan becoming a hotspot for terrorism on the one hand, but it's really the recovery of the economy and the fact that this administration hasn't been able to get the coronavirus under control is the main issue for them right now. And if he can't really hone in on that and control that, then yes, he is going to be in a lot of trouble. We already know, and not to have really a huge prediction, but we do already know that in 2022, his party is really going to be in trouble on Capitol Hill. How it's going to pan out for him himself, it's yet to be seen. But the way he's being really shielded from talking to the American people, to the media, that's not helping him either.
That was WION's correspondent Susan Tehrani joining us live from New York. Well, that's all we have on today's WION Alive broadcast from Washington, D.C. Stay tuned to WION for the most comprehensive coverage of the UN General Assembly throughout the week.
many other.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has landed here in Washington, D.C. On his agenda is trade, regional security and climate change. Prime Minister Modi will be meeting leaders of the United States, Australia and Japan. In a world of changing priorities and politics, how can India safeguard its interests? Watch Gravitas with me, Palki Sharma Upadhyay, at these times only on WION World is One. The Chinese regime is using...
We were on top of the China story.
Distressing scenes at the top 2 hours.
We were on top of the Afghanistan story.
By the military.
A coalition of...
We have simplified the complex Indo-Pacific equation for you. The stage is now set for the next step. Will the world isolate China?
World leaders are meeting here in Washington, D.C. WION is in the U.S. Capitol to tell you where that's headed. A 10-day global coverage from the United States of America. Stay tuned to WION, USA Direct. The world is finally coming together against China. It's all happening right here in Washington, D.C., the first ever in-person Quad Summit and the Modi-Biden bilateral. All of this week, Gravitas will be coming live to you, first from Washington, D.C. and then from New York. This week will be a game changer for the Indo-Pacific and the world beyond. Join me, Palki Sharma Upadhyay, to watch the Gravitas US edition.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Washington for a power-packed visit. He will be meeting US President Joe Biden, will participate in the first in-person Quad meeting. A new geopolitics, a changing world. Follow me, Siddhant Sibal, as I give you all the live and latest updates on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Washington visit.
President of the United States of America. This democracy
Forward, looking at
the road to inclusivity, the road to reform that President Joe Biden and several presidents before him have promised.
Celebration of India-US relationship.
A gripping week of diplomacy, drama, and some fun moments. How are we going to World leaders converge in the Big Apple. A gripping week of diplomacy, drama, and some fun moments. Follow me, Susan Tehrani, as I report live from
Hello and welcome to Beyond World is One. Our big focus at this hour. The Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in the United States, in Washington, D.C. as of now, and he's holding crucial one-on-one meetings with some of the biggest global CEOs, specifically American CEOs. Two of them happen to be Indian Americans. And a key focus, of course, will be on the global chip shortage, which is why he's making and meeting a crucial CEO, which happens to be Cristiano Amon from Qualcomm. Now, Qualcomm is a semiconductor and wireless technology manufacturer. Some of the other big names happen to be Indian Americans, Shantanu Narayan from the software company Adobe and Vivek Lal from General Atomics. Again, General Atomics is energy systems and an arms manufacturer. Remember, this is a crucial visit of the Indian Prime Minister, his 7th visit to the United States, a big focus for us for the next couple of days. He's also going to hold important bilateral meetings with global leaders, but for now he's meeting some of the biggest American CEOs. This visit is highly significant as the Indian Prime Minister wants to shore up confidence in the Indian economy and also make India a key player on the global stage and attract more private investment in the country. Once again, our big focus of the hour is the fact that the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is meeting with some of the biggest top 5 American CEOs as of now. These are live visuals coming in from Washington, D.C. Let's tell you a little bit about the significance of this meeting. Prime Minister is meeting with American CEOs from 5 different key areas, and this is reflective of the priorities of the Indian government as of now. The meeting with Shantanu Narayan from the software company Adobe reflects the IT and digital space priority that the Indian government is pushing. Now, this is, of course, according to news reports and analysis from experts coming in. Secondly, he's also meeting with another significant CEO, that happens to be Vivek Lal, who is the CEO of General Atomics, which is not only a pioneer in the military drone technologies, but also happens to be the world's top manufacturer of state-of-the-art military drones, which of course the US shares only with its key allies and partners, once again highlighting the key relationship between India and the United States. India is currently in the process of procuring a significant number of drones for the 3 branches of its armed forces, and it has also leased out a few drones from General Atomics. Let's tell you a little bit more about the number of CEOs and their portfolio that the Indian Prime Minister is currently interacting with. The meeting with the chip giant Cristiano Amon assumes significance, especially given India's push for the 5G technology to be safe and secure. The San Diego-based company Qualcomm creates semiconductors, significant software, and of course services related to wireless technology. The meeting with Qualcomm is especially important because it is now pioneering its way to 5G, a crucial technology with a new era of intelligent products. And once again, this meeting comes in the backdrop of the global semiconductor shortage, which has crippled supply chains. Let's now take a quick break on WION World is One. On the other side, we'll give you more details about the Prime Minister's US visit. The Chinese regime is...
We were on top of the China story.
Distressing scenes at the top 2 hours.
We were on top of the Afghanistan story.
By the military.
A coalition of...
We have simplified the complex Indo-Pacific equation for you. The stage is now set for the next step. Will the world isolate China